How violent is too violent when it comes to video games? One of the questions facing the U.S. Supreme Court.
Video games and violence, are they linked?
Is there a link between virtual violence and the real thing?
More than 160 million Americans play video games, billions worldwide, but there still continues to be a struggle to find out if violence in video games contributes to real-life violence.
Violence. No matter what form of media you consume, whether that's movies, games, cartoons, or even books, violence will always play a key factor. However, one long-lasting question when it comes to discussing graphic content in media is, can it ever really go too far? So in this documentary, I'm going to be covering a time where the media considered a specific game released in 2003 that went too far in terms of its graphic nature, called Manhunt. Released in 2003, Manhunt is a survival horror game produced by Rockstar Games and released for the PS2, Xbox and PC. In the game, you are James Earl Cash, a death row inmate who, after being given a fake lethal injection, is forced to kill throughout a series of scenes set in Carcer City, orchestrated by the director Lionel Starkweather. The gameplay consists of Cash sneaking up or fighting several different gangs by using weapons spread around the environment, with executions being a key factor in getting a 5-star rating in missions. The pacing is split up into levels, which are known as scenes in the game, with each scene being one of Lionel Starkweather's snuff films up until the level titled Kill the Rabbit, where Starkweather plans for Cash to be murdered, but instead Cash kills the people sent out to kill him, and you spend the rest of the game hunting down the director. The game's climax involves Cash finally making it to Starkweather's mansion to take him out once and for all. When the game was released, although it received positive reviews from game sources such as IGN and GameSpot for its unique atmosphere and innovative gameplay, the extremely heavy backlash and controversy it got from news clearly outshined the positive reviews, ultimately getting the game outright banned in several countries, such as Germany, Australia and New Zealand. One of the most outlandish claims were that the game was linked to a murder in the UK, with so-called evidence claiming it could have been a crime of passion due to the perpetrator's adoration for the game. But later on, it was found out that the game was actually found in the victim's room, not the perpetrator's. In my opinion, this example shows how news outlets and the media clearly have a somewhat biased agenda against medias they are unfamiliar with, ultimately making people like parents and the older generation have a fear factor against games like this. Even though games of violent nature such as Manhunt, Postal or Resident Evil clearly have an 18 rated sign on the box showing that you need a proof of ID to purchase them. So to further emphasize my idea of what can be considered going too far in terms of violence in media, I'm going to be comparing the scrutiny of Manhunt to a similar sort of media that released 1 year later. Released in 2004, Saw is a horror thriller film directed by James Wan. The film follows two protagonists called Lawrence Gordon and Adam Stanheight, who wake up chained opposite sides of a decrepit bathroom, with a man dead on the floor in the middle with a revolver next to him. They both realise they have a cassette tape in their pockets, so they decide to play it and find out they are part of a sadistic killer known as Jigsaw's game. As the events unfold, we realise who is behind the Jigsaw persona, which is a dire man called John Kramer, who believes these brutal tests he puts out for people are for people who deserve it, because he picks individuals who he would consider not appreciative of life. When the film released, it received a mixed reception, with a large majority of the audience and critics praising the memorable plot and characters and the unique style it paved the way for. The community's response to the gratuitous violence of Saw compared to Manhunt, which released a year prior, indicates how press coverage usually have bias towards media they are unfamiliar with, ultimately causing community outcry and creating outrageous claims to further try and take them down. So in preparation for this documentary, I decided to interview a few of my friends to discuss with them the topic if they believe violent video games cause a real-world impact in terms of their effect on people playing them.
I don't think it's the definitive yes or no. I think it's a kind of murky ground where I think it can affect people if their mental state's already a bit like that. So if they're already kind of in a rough spot and then they're playing these violent video games, they might garner ideas from them. But I don't think video games in their entirety, like let's say Call of Duty, I don't think if you play it you're instantly gonna become a shooter or really violent. I think it's more almost an enzyme to certain people who might be violent anyway. It just kind of speeds up that violent nature and unlocks it in a way, if that makes sense.
In my opinion, I don't believe video games cause real-world violence. I believe the media say that to somewhat dodge accountability, to bad parenting, or people having a not so good childhood, which could have caused the aggression.
So to bring this piece full circle, yes, I believe violence in media can go too far. However, if it serves a greater purpose or meaning, such as a commentary on everyday life, or even something bigger, I do believe there is something to be learnt there. Thank you for watching.